Welcome to the Wearable Learning Cloud Platform tutorial series. In this video, we will discuss the basic setup of a game in the WLCP using the Game Editor mode. Specifically, we will learn about the two main building blocks of a game, states and transitions, by looking at Demo Game. Feel free to log into the WLCP and follow along with me as you watch this tutorial. Let's get started. After logging in with your username and password, you'll be taken to the mode selection screen. We'll select Game Editor as the mode. Today, we're going to look at a game that I already made, so let me load that up quickly. If you're following along, we're looking at Demo Game 1 Player. Okay, here we go. This is what a game generally looks like in the WLCP. I'll scroll down briefly so you can see the whole game. This one's pretty short because it's just a demo, but more developed games are often longer. Here we can see that the game is made up of two major components, states and transitions. These light gray and blue boxes are called states, and they represent a screen that players will see when playing the game. Notice quickly this green circle up here. This is the start, and it indicates where the players will enter the game. The start will always have an arrow to a state, which will be the first state players will see. So in this game, the first state the players will see is the Q1 state. We can double-click it to see more, so let's go ahead and open up the state editor. A state has two main parts, the title and the display text. The title is the label that goes on the state in the diagram. It's only visible in the editor. The display text is the text that will appear on the screen, and it's what the player will see when they're looking at the state in the game. In addition to the display text, there can also be display photos. Let's close this and go back to the diagram. Here we can see the other major component, transitions. They are represented by these dark gray, smaller boxes. Transitions are the way that players move from screen to screen or state to state. They indicate the response types and the accepted responses. Transitions are always placed on an arrow that connects an origin state to a target state. Let's open up this first transition and take a closer look. Now there are three different types of transitions, and the type will be indicated in this left panel of the transition editor. So this transition is a button press, which means there will be a row, 4 buttons, at the bottom of the screen, and the player gets to choose one. Over in this right panel, we see the accepted responses from players. In this transition, we can see black is selected as the only acceptable response. Now if we close this transition editor to look at the whole game, we can talk about what this means in context. When the player is looking at the screen representing the question 1 state, they will see 4 button press options at the bottom of their screen. If the player clicks the button labeled black, they will travel along this connection and they will see the question 2 state screen. However, if the player clicks any button other than black, they will not travel along this connection, because black is the only response indicated in this transition. You can see this game was set up so when a player clicks the wrong button, they'll go to a state telling them they got the question wrong, and then they're redirected back to the Q1 state for another attempt. Let's look at the other types of transitions. So if we open this one here, we can see that this transition uses a color sequence. For color sequences, players can drag 4 colored squares in any order into a box below. And this transition is looking for a matching color sequence. If we look over in this right panel, we can see that for a player to travel along this connection, they would need to enter the color sequence black, green, blue, red. Let's go back and look at the final type of transition. If we open this one here, we can see the third type of transition, a text entry. This is where players can just type in an answer. You can see text entry selected in the left panel, and on the right, you can see the only accepted answer is Mercury. Let's go back and look at the flow of the game. So a player will enter the game and start at the question 1 screen. They put in an answer, and if it's wrong, they go to the incorrect state, and then back to the question. If they put in the correct answer, then they'll go to the second question screen. They'll repeat this process for question 2 and question 3, until finally the player reaches the end state. If we open it up, we can see this end state tells them they've completed the game. If you haven't already, I suggest watching the game player tutorial to see this game being played and better understand how states and transitions translate to what players see in the game. But this was a general introduction to states and transitions in the game editor. Now you can explore it yourself or watch another tutorial to learn more about the WLCP.